Thank you to Buzzsprout for sponsoring this video. Apple Podcasts now supports video, so you might be wondering, how do I get video onto Apple Podcasts? What if I already have a YouTube channel? Should I put it on Apple or YouTube? What's the difference between the two? Should I do one or the other or both? If you have any of those questions, that's what we're going to talk about today. And before getting into the technical steps of uploading your video podcast with Buzzsprout so that it's available on Apple, I kind of want to differentiate between, YouTube and Apple podcasting because they are similar in a lot of ways, but also different. And video podcasting as a workflow can sometimes be a little bit intimidating because not only are you adding video, which on the production side of things can be pretty intense, but now in your post-production, in your distribution, you might have an audio file that you need to upload so that everyone can get the audio version of your podcast. And then if you have this video file, which is bigger, you need to put that somewhere so that people can get that. And then you find yourself navigating different interfaces, different menus, different workflows, passwords, accounts, and it adds friction to your workflow. So while it is cool that Apple accepts video now, and it kind of shows you where podcasting and video is going in, current day and in the future, it also then can raise some concerns about workflow. And ultimately, what this will look like in Apple Podcasts is that you'll see a video label near episodes that include video. Then a viewer or a listener can turn video on or off anytime throughout the episode. So let's start by covering what I think the differences are between Apple and YouTube. And I think it's not that you should choose one or the other. They both just serve different purposes. So YouTube, the platform you're watching this video on right now, has the advantage of search, recommendations, the YouTube algorithm, for better or worse, all the things that it does. It can really take content and share it to people who might not otherwise see it. And so that means your podcast on YouTube has a really good chance of reaching a new audience than it would otherwise. Apple Podcasts work super different, especially when it comes to discovery. So I think one way to look at it is that YouTube is where, your future audience might be, and Apple is where your current audience or people who know that they are looking specifically for you will be. Think of how many people have an iPhone that comes preloaded with the podcast app. And if you mention a show or they hear it, they can just go there, look it up, and it's right there. Or people already listen to your show and they just want to throw it into their podcast app, and it's super simple that way. Versus YouTube, where someone could log in, they can just browse, and then suddenly your video shows up and they've never heard of you before, but now they become interested in what you're making and they become a fan of your work. So this is why I really think if you're doing a video podcast that it makes sense to use both YouTube and Apple. But it is also worth keeping in mind how YouTube works when it comes to that algorithm and that recommendation. And this is a big reason why you do see people have separate channels for their podcasts. Like on my channel here, if I had all my normal videos, but then my podcast episodes were just randomly interspersed, it's not that it would necessarily be bad for the podcast. I might even prefer that, but YouTube would get some weird signals in its analytics and it could overall hurt my channel. Ask me how I know this. I actually have an entire podcast episode where I talk about this, but at the end of last year, I wanted to move the 3 courses that I had. I have 3 paid courses. I wanted to make them free on YouTube using YouTube's new course feature. So I moved the courses over, which meant that I uploaded like 45 videos just at once. I didn't publish them to the subscription feed because I didn't want to disturb anybody or, totally clutter up everybody's feed. But what YouTube did was it analytically didn't really care that those were course videos. So of course, someone's not going to jump into video 12 of a very specific online course, and that's not going to go to the trending page or anything. What YouTube saw was that I uploaded my last 45 videos. Nobody was that interested in them. And so it then really hurt the performance of my channel, even when I was just making my regular videos, and it took months and months to recover from that. So things like that are reasons why people do have separate channels for podcasts versus normal YouTube videos. And it is also something that you really kind of don't have to consider when you're uploading a video podcast to Apple, which is much more of just a distribution platform. There's a little bit of search, a little bit of recommendation, but by and large, that is where your existing audience lives, or where the people who know that they're seeking out your show are going to find you. So let's hop over here and look at how you actually get your video podcast onto Apple. There is the podcasters.apple.com website, and this is where you can log in and see your shows. This is where you need to make sure that you claim your show in your Buzzsprout account. Buzzsprout is not only the sponsor of this video, but they've also been my podcasting host for over 6 years at this point. And they're just super supportive and awesome and genuinely passionate about podcasting. That's some plosive alliteration for you right there. Buzzsprout is also the first host to offer video distribution directly to Apple Podcasts publicly. But I bring that up because it wasn't until this recent update that I actually did claim my podcast through Apple. Even though it had already been distributed there through my Buzzsprout account for years, I didn't officially claim it. Buzzsprout does have a help article which will show you exactly how to claim your podcast, and it's pretty simple. Basically, you just go into your Apple account and you click on Claim Existing Show, and then you're able to add that into your Buzzsprout account under directories. So if I go over here, see I have Apple Podcasts listed. If I click on that, I've already claimed the show right here. And now it's all good to go. So this is the window that you would then use to claim your show. If you're just submitting the claim, it can take a little bit of time. It says up to 48 hours. I think it took mine about 30 hours before it went through, and then I could finish the process. Now, in the exact same way that Apple does not actually host audio podcasts, it just distributes them. Apple is not actually hosting the video file of your podcast. That's what Buzzsprout is doing, and then it's distributing it everywhere. So that means if you want to upload a video to Apple, you need to have a Buzzsprout account that supports video. And just like with claiming your podcast, there is a help article that explains exactly how to do this, which is super simple. Now, I have not enabled video on mine yet, so we'll do that together right now, and then I'll upload my first video podcast to Apple. So I've already logged into Apple Podcast Connect. I've already verified that my podcast is claimed. So in the Apple account, you can actually click on the account option, and then we click on API keys. If you've never generated a key, right here it will say generate key. If you have already generated a key at some point, then you can click the little plus icon to create a new one. In this case, we're just going to name it Buzzsprout, which is very important to make sure you do name it Buzzsprout. And then it will actually download that key to your computer, and you can go over to your Buzzsprout account here where it says video. And then right here, you can upload your API key to your Buzzsprout account and click connect. And now, just like when you claimed your podcast, there will be a bit of an approval anywhere from 0 to 48 hours before you can then start uploading video directly to Apple. It did take about 2 days for Apple to approve video for my podcast. And then once that happens, you can upload new episodes by adding a video file to Buzzsprout the same way that you would normally add an audio file, and then do your title, description, and any relevant metadata. But the other big benefit to this workflow is now you only need one file. So you can take your video podcast file, you can upload it to Buzzsprout. It will send the video to Apple, but it will also send the audio to all of your other podcast directories where your show is listed, including Apple if they just want the audio only version there. And you don't have to then now do the audio file, video file, totally separate thing. And it's also very important to note that support for video on Spotify and YouTube directly is coming to Buzzsprout in the very near future, which means on all those platforms, now you'll just upload one file to your Buzzsprout account, and it will send video where video needs to go and audio where audio needs to go. So you can say adios to multiple files, which is just a huge hassle. Now you can upload your video podcast directly to Buzzsprout, or you can do something I'm doing right now, and I'm uploading a video file to an existing episode. So previously I had some audio uploaded to Buzzsprout that was going to audio only on Apple, but I also had video episodes on YouTube. Now I can upload that video file to my existing episode that I already have, and it will then push that video out to the podcast on Apple, which has already been up for a while, as audio only. This will only replace the file and won't have any effect on your stats or your analytics. And once you've done all this, now you'll notice your stats page does have a video tab, which you can click on. Look at that giant number. Mine is at 0 because I uploaded it now with you because I am embarking on this journey at the same time you are. Just remember, you do need a Buzzsprout plan that supports both audio and video in order to do this. So I think this is really exciting because creating a video podcast is no easy feat. Creating any podcast is no easy feat, but video, you're adding a whole new layer of complexity into your production. And up until now, then the post-processing, the distribution side of that was really, really difficult. And this makes things a lot simpler, especially once you get to the point where you can just upload one file to rule them all. And then whoever wants video can see the video, and whoever wants audio can listen to the audio. But if you're watching this and you're thinking of starting a podcast, or you're thinking of adding video to your podcast, definitely check out my podcasting guide video. And if you want more guided instruction for the entire podcasting process for both audio and video, check out the Podcaster Playbook, my course, which is now free on YouTube.